Welcome, history detectives. I'm Conrad. I'm an outdoor educator with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation at Letchworth State Park, and today I have a history mystery for you. I'm here at a scenic overlook in the northern end of Letchworth State Park. It's a super easy overlook to find, but it has some of the most obscure park history. I think we can use some history clues to figure out where we are and unravel this story from there. First things first, let's look at our location. We're in the north end of Letchworth State Park, like I say. We're in the area of the Mount Morris Gate, the very, very northern tip. We are easy walking distance from the trailhead to one of our most popular trails in the north end, the High Banks Trail, Trail 20. And if you were to come in the Mount Morris Gate, this is one of the first parking loops that you would see on your right. Super easy to find, just a minute inside the park gates. Second clue, you look at the shape of this area that I'm sitting on now. It's kind of a hill. It has a little lump to the top of it. And this overlook is just sticking up just a teensy bit higher than the rest of the ground. And for our third history clue, while we're here, we might as well just look at the signs here at the overlook. And sure enough, they say Squawky Hill. Okay, so we know we're on Squawky Hill, and this place is known to people who live around here in Mount Morris and Leicester to have a lot of Native American history. And sure enough, these signs make references to stories of the Seneca Nation, stories of Mary Jemison, a captive of European descent who was adopted into the Seneca Nation, and the reservation that was negotiated here by the Seneca. But the particular group of Seneca for whom this specific reservation was negotiated remains pretty obscure and hard to find. There are only a few authorities that really know how far back that story goes. If you just Google Squawky Hill, Mount Morris, New York, you'll probably see a bunch of results for the Squawkia. But the Squawkia were not always part of the Seneca Nation. No, these were the children, grandchildren perhaps, of Native Americans who had already been displaced by European settlers in the Great Lakes region. They had migrated here to the Genesee Valley and been adopted by the Seneca and absorbed into the Seneca Nation, where they picked up that name Squawkia. Before then, in the Great Lakes, before they were displaced, they would have called themselves the Meskwaki. And the descendants of those original Meskwaki Native Americans from the Great Lakes who were absorbed into the Seneca Nation and called themselves the Squawkia, they lived here until the early 1900s. The Squawky Hill Reservation showed up on town maps until about 1902. This is not terribly long ago. Eventually, the Squawkia and the rest of their new family, the Seneca, moved from the area because it had become too heavily settled by Europeans and too heavily developed by the newly formed United States. They moved mostly to reservations in the Buffalo Creek area. And the Meskwaki have descendants who keep these stories intact and share them with the public as part of historical seminars. And that's how I heard about it. This just goes to show you how valuable it can be to learn Native American history directly from Native Americans. There are some fantastic resources out there for learning the culture and history of Native Americans in this region. I'm thinking right away of Ganondigan State Historic Site. They have an amazing facility, and if you follow them on social media, they do all kinds of talks and seminars and outdoor education about the Seneca culture and the Seneca history. Well, thank you so much for joining me for today's History Mystery. If you have any questions about Letchworth State Park history as it relates to the Seneca Nation, please put a comment in the comment section below the video. Share this video with your friends to put their history detective skills to the test. And as always, like Letchworth State Park's Facebook page to stay tuned for more History Mysteries.